I really like these new colors you painted these boxes. It's very good.
We got even more colors in the car.
Yeah. For all of your bees, which you now have 7 hives of.
Yeah. I think it's 7, it might be 8.
You don't have 8, do you?
We did a split, remember?
That made it 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well then.
You don't even know how many hives you have. Oh my goodness. I am interested in learning about bees. I did get a little bit discouraged from my beekeeping journey when I got 13 stings in my crotch area. There's really no nice way to say it. But I was gonna get back in the saddle. That was my fault. I was beekeeping in yoga pants. I had the jacket on but didn't have the pants on. I'm gonna get a full body suit and go back at it. And Jeremiah's like, now he's like, I really need you to learn how to beekeep because we need to both be doing hive inspections because he's got 7 hives now. And he's painting them all different colors, or well, he's having Malia paint them all different colors. We're having some technical difficulties with the 4-wheeler and Jeremiah's troubleshooting on the phone with someone.
He's gonna come by.
What is it about puddles that is so inviting to a little boy?
They're fun to step in.
Yeah, they are fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, we need to redecorate our chalkboard, Benny. Need to get something to wipe that off with.
Yeah.
Probably need to get a rag or something to wipe it off. What'd you wish for?
That I could be with my mommy.
That you could be with your mommy?
All the time.
All the time? Well, look, your wish came true. Here we are. All right, y'all ready to see how much rain we got today and last night? Oh my goodness. Almost 3 inches. You gonna pour it? Are you eating a pea there? You gonna set down your pea so you can pour it? Oh, we're watering the nasturtium with it. Good thinking. No need to waste water, huh? Several of you asked about my little rain gauge. We have a local grocery store called Harps, and that's where that's from. They get in the cutest garden stuff every year, but I don't know like where you can buy it because they just get like a limited number of things in, and they source a lot of stuff from local places. That's also where I buy a lot of my plants, and that one, if you are local, that one came from the Harps in Bologna, but they sometimes get them in like the other Harps around here, like in Conway and stuff. Yes, actually, the plants in the greenhouse need water, even though we got 3 inches of rain outside the greenhouse. The water in here is run to our well, so this is not water that we're paying for the water. However, it is an electric well pump, so we are paying to get the water in here. The well was already dug when we bought this property, and it's a very deep well. I can't remember exactly how deep it is. Maya could probably tell us off the top of his head, but I think it's somewhere around 200 feet. It's a pretty deep well. However, our house had been vandalized. We got it as a foreclosure, and the well had been just stripped, so there was no pump. We had to rebuild the well house. Like, they had just taken everything down that was like above the ground.
That well thing?
Yeah, let's go over there.
Somewhere about here.
You looking for the other rain gauge?
Yeah, there's a 3rd one.
I know where it is. Do you want me to tell you, or do you want to just find it on your own? Oh, you found it. Let's see how full that one is.
4
Wow, this one says 4 inches. Golly, I guess I didn't dump this one out last night like I did the other one. But what I was saying, we've talked about building like water catchment to catch the rain, but we do have the well, which is essentially doing that. So it is coming from the rainwater. We rebuilt everything and ran water from our well to our whole property over this winter. So that's a new thing. That just happened the beginning of this year. And we have water like to the different animals. We have water down to the garden. It's in this greenhouse, it's in the other greenhouse, and we're gonna run another spigot by the other garden in the back, and we're gonna run water into the high tunnel and do drip irrigation in there like we did in here. Also been getting a lot of questions about that, and I'll link the video where Ben and Maya just got our drip irrigation system hooked up here. That's also recent. We hooked that up after hooking the well up, and all that stuff is from Haas Tools. Prior to this year, I watered this whole garden by hand. However, we get so much rain here that we don't usually have to start watering the garden until maybe like the middle of June, depending. Like the last couple years have been so wet, I don't think we've watered it much until June, and then it has to be watered because it's so hot. Oh my goodness, look at this. Oh, the ground is so soft. Look at these nasturtium leaves, they're massive. Wow. There's a little bloom about to open up. Those are huge. They are happy nasturtiums. Oh, thank you, son. These are beautiful.
I picked them.
Thank you. Tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, it might be later this week, I'm hoping to get these beds weeded and start planting my roses. He's over there picking those wildflowers. My roses have started to arrive, the first few that I ordered. Then a really sweet viewer sent me a rose from a place called Antique Rose Emporium in Texas, and I went on their website and was really surprised that they had really good prices, and so I bought a few more. So I think I ended up with something like 8 or 9 rose bushes to put in, and I've started putting those in place. So I've got 2 back in the high tunnel that I'm putting in, and then I'm putting a couple more in the cottage garden, and then I'm putting the rest back here as they come in. Some of them haven't shipped yet. So I'm really excited about that. They're all kind of big cupped English type roses, very antique style. That's in some hybrid tea roses. Once they're all in and growing, I'll tell you guys their names and all of that. But I definitely got bit with the rose bug, and I did not know this until my mother told me the other day that the house that I was like a very young child in, I don't remember this, we moved from the house when I was like 7, but my mom had like 40, I think she said she had 42 different types of roses there, and she'd gotten really into like cultivating clippings and different things like that. And of course I got the clippings the other day from Joanne, a viewer, and I showed you guys as I was potting those. They're doing great, so they're really taking in the soil, and they're green, and so I'm feeling really confident about that. And my mom told me that she had like 42 different roses, and I remember her buying a purple rose for me and planting it outside my bedroom window when I was like 6 or 7. So I guess that's something that it's funny that I've now come full circle as an adult and am now like, oh, I want to grow all the roses, because apparently when I was Ben's age, my mom was wanting to grow all the roses, and I'm sure that I was around it just like he is, and I just don't remember. And it's kind of funny, it would be very similar to him growing up and being, you know, like when him being 35 and wanting to grow all the roses and not remembering if he, you know, weren't to remember this. So I don't know, I just thought that was kind of cool to find out. This is kind of cool over here. This is a sunflower, but right next to it, and I'm really kind of torn right now. I guess I could dig it up and put it somewhere else. I don't want to hurt the sunflower. This is curly mint, and it smells so good. It's such a lovely mint, very sweet. And last year, another viewer, you guys just blessed me so much sending me plants for my garden, named Rick, sent me that mint, and I had it in a pot next to there, because you typically don't want to put mint in your beds because mint is wild. So, you know, I do say contain your mint, but that just popped back up, and I was so sad because my cats had killed the mint in that pot, and I thought it was gone, but then it came back up in the bed, and I was like, oh man. So I don't know, like I'm afraid if I leave it there it's gonna take over the bed, but I don't want to move it and it not thrive. So I'm kind of having a little bit of a conundrum inside. I want to contain my mint, but I really want that mint to thrive. Also, can we just take a moment of appreciation for these cabbages? This is what happens whenever I end up missing a garden tour. I just tour my garden all week. Look at this cabbage. It's so good. It's so fat and healthy. I'm so pleased. And, okay, so nothing much here. These actually are, okay, so, oh, these are sad. These have little poops on them. I need to get some BT out here because that's worm damage. but this one is perfect. Look, Ben, come here, look.
What is that?
It's cauliflower. It's purple cauliflower. This is called Graffiti, which is actually an F1 hybrid from Haas Tools. That's so cool. And there's a little tiny head of that. I can't remember what that one's called. Flame, maybe? It's like a yellow-orange cauliflower, but I need to put some BT on there. I'm going to lose that to bug. Look at these cabbages. They're massive. And these are starting to head up, and hopefully these will be able to produce a head. Hopefully, I don't know what the weather's going to do. If it gets really hot really fast, they might not. That is the one plus side of us having such a mild spring. I have never successfully grown like big cabbages or really gotten any cauliflower or broccoli in the spring before. All of these brassicas, all the cabbages, the cauliflowers, there's chard here, there were kohlrabis, rutabagas, beets, all of those things. I started those on December 28th, I remember the date exactly because it's Maya's birthday, in my greenhouse, and grew them in the greenhouse. And then I believe I moved those out on about March 5th. It was right after I got back from Iowa. I moved all of those out, and they were underneath a row cover for a little while, and then we moved the row cover off because they weren't growing very fast and I didn't feel like it was necessary. You cut those for Ezra? That's really sweet of you. Okay, let's put the scissors up, okay? I don't want them to get rusty. This rose right here on this long stem is just asking to go live on my kitchen table. I really wish you guys could smell it. It's so lovely. In the past, I have successfully grown brassicas in the fall into our mild winters, but the springs can be really difficult because it can get so hot so fast. And so I've started them every year. And I've had some sprouting broccoli do okay. I've grown heads of broccoli and cauliflower, and I've grown cabbages in the fall. Tomorrow is plastic day. We have some extra help coming over because this is going to take more than just a couple of people. But I have taken advantage of the fact that it was raining. Did some planting where it could get watered in well. I started some peppers over here, which we actually still have to finish filling this with soil. I felt kind of silly just planting to here where the soil drops off, but not that silly. I really wanted to plant the peppers. I was actually out here last night until it was dark. I was here until I just couldn't see anymore, and it was like a drizzly rain. That was all day, and I just stayed out here in the rain planting all these peppers. It was really actually very nice. It was cool, and I'm one of those people that thrives on alone time, and so it was such a recharging, peaceful thing to plant these peppers out in the rain in the dusk by myself. I ended up going ahead and starting peppers on this bed too. I would like the majority of them to be over there, but some of you are probably gonna laugh because you made comments about this. But I'd gotten in my mind that I didn't have very many peppers. I guess compared to how many tomatoes we had, which was a lot, it just didn't seem like that many plants. And I know you plant them closer together. And I just kept looking at the, like 8 or 9 trays of peppers that I have and just be like, oh, this isn't very many. And then I don't know, maybe the fact that they're like 4-packs and 6-packs all in there, like it was a lot of plants. As I started to plant them, I realized that I was probably gonna have to put some over here. So that's a rose bush. That's a bare root that I'm hoping is gonna take off. It's taking its time. I have a backup plan if it doesn't. But these are jalapenos here. Just some plain jalapenos that I bought started from a store. I've got some hot banana peppers and then cayennes. So the hot banana peppers can be pickled, like pepper rings pickled, and the cayennes would be for powder. And then here I've got some eggplants. All these are eggplants. Trying some stuff out with some close spacing on these eggplants because the year that I most successfully grew eggplants, I started them late and I planted them really close together. And since then, my eggplants have struggled a little bit, and I think that I've spaced them out too much and planted them too early. So as you can see, there are quite a few plants here. And then here I've got 4 ground cherries. Maya came out this morning to see what I had done last night. I wanted to show him. And we were kind of brainstorming a little bit with these ground cherries, and we had an idea, and I think we're gonna try it. Ground cherries are kind of like a cherry tomatillo, how you have like cherry tomatoes. So they're in the nightshade family. Like tomatillos, they grow in a husk. So it kind of looks like a little lantern is what it reminds me of, like a paper lantern, whenever they set their fruit. And then they fill up with this fruit, like this little round cherry. All the ones that I know of are yellow. There may be others. They're really sweet. It doesn't taste necessarily like a sweet berry, but very similar. It does have a little bit of a tomatillo taste and texture to it, but they're very fruity. Even kind of tropical, I would say. And they fall off when they're ready. Now you can pick them, like you can squeeze them and tell that they're about to fall off, and they usually will come off in your fingers really simply if they are really ripe. But otherwise they fall off and you harvest them off the ground cherries. They grow sort of like in a low bush, very similar structure to a tomatillo, but tomatillos get a lot bigger. And one of the things that we were talking about today is Jeremiah was saying, the thing with ground cherries is it'd be really nice if you could put something under them, so one, they wouldn't be sitting on the soil when they fell off, but also to make them a little easier to see. So what we came up with, we're gonna implement here in the high tunnel, and I'm gonna go ahead and plant. I have more plants up in the greenhouse. We have that white fabric up there underneath the squash. It's very similar to the fabric we have on the ground in here. The white we got from Bootstrap Farmer. The black that's on the ground in here came from Grower Solution, where we got the greenhouse. And we still have some of that white fabric left over because I think it was like the roll was close to 200 feet or something like that, and we didn't use all of it in that in-ground mounded garden. So what we're looking at doing is laying it down on this raised bed, and I don't know how far down we'll go with it. I don't even know how much of this stuff we still have, but I know we have enough of a section to do just for the ground cherries. And we'll just cut holes in it for the plants that are already here, and then cut a few more holes and probably plant another 6 ground cherry plants in here. And there's no reason why you can't use fabric like that on raised beds. Most people don't, I would say, probably because raised beds in and of themselves cost more to set up, and one of the benefits of raised beds is it is easier to manage the weeds because soil in raised beds doesn't typically get as compacted as it would in the ground. And one of the things that makes weed management really difficult, like pulling weeds, is when the soil is compacted and hard and dry, your weeds just break off instead of being able to pull the roots out. Whereas when you're weeding a raised bed, usually the soil's so loose that the roots come right out. It's a lot easier. But you can put that kind of fabric over the top of your raised bed. I think that you could potentially be making a really happy place for ants to want to live, you know, like with the raised beds plus the fabric, because that's a complaint of both things. I mean, sometimes you deal with ants in raised beds, and sometimes you deal with ants with those fabrics, so putting them together. But we're gonna try it. We're gonna give it a little shot. So just putting a strip of it here and putting our ground cherries on it, and hopefully that'll make them easier to harvest. These tomatoes are all growing really quickly. I keep showing updates on these, so for those of you who watch regularly, you can be amazed with me. But these are the black beauties, and I told you that they were really purple because of stress and deficiency, and that they would green up. I planted these a few days before, and you can see the plants are almost entirely green. Now they still have a little bit of purpling. That's normal for this variety, but you can see all that green. This is a healthy plant, starting to stretch its arms out. And then here you can see a few days behind that progress. These bottom leaves are still really purple, but the new growth is coming in really green, and these will look just like that in a couple more days. Knowing how quickly they're able to make a recovery, it just makes you be able to take a much more laid back approach in the future. Like, I think that had it been one of my earlier years of gardening, and I had had delays with my plants like I did this year, and I didn't get to get them planted in time, if they had started looking that stressed out, I honestly, knowing myself in those days, I might have even thrown them out. Like, I'm serious. That's how much I would stress over stuff not being how I thought it was supposed to be or being right. And I can't tell you how many plants I gave up on in those days that truly, if I'd been willing to just ride out the process with them, they probably would have been just fine. And that was the case with all these. Every plant that went in this greenhouse looked bad whenever I put it in here, because they were in their pots so much longer than they should have been. It was just, there were delays, and the weather was cold so much longer, and now you can't tell with any of them that they looked bad. In fact, this place is going to be a food jungle in no time. Are you looking for worms for the chickens? Yep.
It's called worm search.
Worm search?
The ducks try to find the worms.
Oh, you're gonna give them the ducks?
Yeah.
Y'all, look at Manny. He is so stinking fluffy. He'll be sheared, I can't remember what the date is. It's really soon. It's here in the next 2 weeks, I believe.
What does shear mean?
What does shear mean? It means he's getting a haircut. They're gonna cut all his fiber off. I think that it probably would have been better to be shearing them right now, but we had some trouble finding someone to do it, and it turned out that it's okay. Like, in future we will try to get it done earlier, and we'll try to get on the books earlier, but this year it turned out to be okay because we have had a cool spring. And I mean, in the past we've had Mays that were, you know, that we were in the 90s by May, but that's not the case this year. You told me that this on the side of my sitting stump is called resurrection fern, and that it'll start looking really dead and then it'll liven back up whenever it rains. And you must have been right, because it sure did look like it was dying the other day, and look at it now. I always say every garden needs a chair, because the presence of the gardener is the best medicine for the garden. But in a pinch, a sitting stump will do just fine. Ben, I love to sit and watch the garden grow.
Not watch, it's not even growing.
Yeah, it is. It's growing right now. I'm serious, it is.
I don't see it going big.
Just wait, it'll be big before too long. I've spent my entire life being like that extra kind of person that waxes poetic over silly things, and for a long time I felt very embarrassed about it, but I don't anymore. I love to share it because it's so easy to get caught up in the mundane. It's so easy to get caught up in how hard things are and to question whether they're worth it. But when I sit out here in the evenings like this and you know, watch my kid hunt for earthworms to feed to the ducks, and I just take in the amount of food that's growing here, and I remember how badly I wanted that. Like, I so desired the ability 10 years ago. Like, I could not have fathomed being in this place and being able to do this. 10 years ago, I was picking blackberries on a friend's land because he would let me go pick the wild blackberries, and learning how to can jam, and going to farmers markets with a very small budget, able to purchase very little, and literally treating the stuff that I bought like it was gold plated. Like, it was so valuable to me, because I'd realized the importance of all of this, but I didn't have it yet within, it wasn't in the realm of possibility. I mean, it was literally just a dream. And like, sitting here and taking it all in. Every gardener needs a chair in the garden, because this is an incredible privilege. It really is. It is an incredible privilege to be able to grow food in your yard and to know where that food comes from and to have value for it. What would our world be like if people valued their food and valued the fact that, like, we live in a designed earth that grows things for us to eat? That's incredible. Like, that is just absolutely amazing. And I don't care if it's waxing poetic. Like, you need to remember that too. Like, it's an incredible miracle, a huge blessing. And I'm sitting here looking at all of this being like, yes, like, and then I'll start thinking about all of you guys, and I'll start thinking about the gardens that you'll tag us in on social media. You know, we get tagged on Instagram and Facebook in pictures of people's gardens, and they say, you know, thanks to Roots and Refuge for the inspiration. And it just, the multiplication of what's happening here all over the place because other people caught hold. It's just it's like a fire. It's just a catching thing, you know, and you come in contact with that and you catch it, and the next thing you know, like, you're ablaze as well. And then the people who are in contact with you, like, how many people that you are in contact with, maybe they thought you were crazy at first. Like, people 10 years ago definitely thought that I was, and definitely thought that I was just being romantic about food. But then I look at this and I'm like, wow, and I am so thankful. It just evokes such a great measure of praise in me, like, and every gardener needs a chair in the garden. And I share this not to be cheesy, but I share this because it's genuinely, it's what's burning inside of me. And when I see that fire catch in other people, I know that it's worth sharing. Being inspired and finding places where you get inspiration, where you draw inspiration from, that's important. Because otherwise we'll just become stagnant. And then what will we do? It would just be a mess. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today, in my farm and in my garden and here at my sitting stump. I bless you. Until next time.